Another thing that I loved about this was just seeing where my weaknesses were and you being able to point it out and give me advice on how to get away from that. That I learned in, 10 weeks. I feel like I've grown more in 10 weeks than I have in 10 years of producing.
Prior to you joining the program, what was the main challenges you had with what you were doing with your production?
Really was just being consistent. And um, when I joined the program, a lot of what I ended up telling you was that I needed consistency. I needed someone to be pushing me, and that's what this program did. It pushed me to be a better producer. It pushed me to break boundaries that I didn't know I could, and I can't be more thankful for that.
Awesome. Yeah, because prior to you joining, you'd how long ago was it before joining that you'd finished up at Icon?
2014 is when I finished that with
Yeah, right,
Icon.
right. And I mean, how do you feel like this whole system differed to classic kind of curriculum based things? Because we kind of, played it by ear just based on what we felt like needed work.
Uh, this one was more based towards the artist and me, and that's what really made me gravitate towards this program.
Hmm.
That's what sold me the first time that we talked. It was it was awesome because I didn't feel like a number, and that's kind of weird to say because I love my Icon family. Like they've
Hmm.
done a lot for me. But this one, and I had a lot of help at Icon, but the position that I was in college and or I just graduated college and I was paying for Icon myself, so I had to be working at the same
Yep.
time.
Yep.
So I didn't get to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. But this one, I'm more settled into my career and everything, and
Hmm.
um, I scheduled out I scheduled out times to make sure that this was a priority,
Yep.
and that was one thing that I loved. And the one-on-one time that I had with you was I couldn't be more thankful.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed working with you, man. Yeah, there's not, I mean, I don't thoroughly enjoy every single person I work with because some people, some people you get along really well and some people it's just like, okay, sure. So yeah,
Yeah,
I was always looking forward to actually working with you. I was like, yes, get to work with Chris today.
that's
But,
awesome.
but yeah, I mean, you moved through the program very, very easily. I noticed in the first couple of weeks, you were flying through a lot of the exercises incredibly close in terms of the. Well, I mean, we can even have a look right now. If I let's see, if I even just bring up your sheet and have a look at. No, there wasn't really much pain points on most of the tracks you did. It was really very minimal. There was just minor things. But I
Hmm.
noticed once you actually moved across into, doing the originals, it's where things really shine across because I could see you've clearly got a specific sound going. Like
Hmm.
you're already on your way of developing a really good sound. So, a lot of the organic elements you're using in some of the house tracks, I thought really were iconic. Like a lot of the I guess what would you say they're South American or something influenced or something?
Yeah, my Mexican roots are starting to pick up. I've always wanted to do that.
Hmm.
Trumpets were a big thing that I've always wanted to do. I just didn't have the resources to buy the plugins and didn't know where they were coming from.
Yep.
And even just the rave sounds that I've been using, like
Yep.
you told me where to find those, and like that,
Yeah.
it all just came, and it's all just the knowledge that you've accumulated throughout your years of being a producer and
Hmm.
working with other people, and it really it made me think a lot more about how I can make a sound and make different elements in my track pop, because you would tell me like you'd put like a seed over here, and then I would go to that seed and just water it and just watch it grow.
Yeah.
And so
No,
that's
definitely.
been, yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean that's a great analogy in terms of planting the seed and growing the garden, I guess. Because
mhm,
yeah, the as we progressed through the program, I noticed there a lot of the technical stuff that you had an issue with before, like a lot of the fullness and stuff, is definitely
mhm,
went away. Like you always had a pretty clean mix down,
mhm.
but it was just really the fullness and some of the punch was missing a lot of the elements. But I noticed as
Yeah.
we moved towards week 6, week 7 or so like that, noticed you had a lot of the fullness because you started implementing, soft clipping more and using more saturation. Even more so in
Yeah.
this final week as well. It's like, we were just discussing before, it's like the waveform is completely, sausage basically, except for some of those inconsistencies. But, that's just track dependent, I guess. So
Mhm.
in terms of my approach in terms of breaking down somebody's production is very systematic and kind of technical basis. What was your like perspective on all of that? Because I don't know of anybody that's doing this kind of like breaking down isolation stuff.
The process has been incredible for me because like I've always been stuck in thinking that I need to finish the track that I started. And this one, with the time constraints that you have a week to make 5 tracks, you don't have that time. And I've never been like, oh, I need to finish 5 tracks in a week. I never thought that was possible until I started taking this class, and it ended up being possible. Like,
Yeah,
and a lot of the times it didn't, like, I wasn't stuck because any time I was stuck, I had 4 other tracks to make
yeah.
or 3 other tracks to make. And so I didn't let myself get into like a beat block or anything like that. I would just start a new track, and then that a lot of the elements that I would use in one track, I'd be like, oh, that would sound better in this track.
Ah, I
And
see.
so, and that's the biggest thing for me was just getting out of beat block and then getting out of this like weird state of being, I'm trying to think of the word, like uh almost like it's called something syndrome, imposter
Imposter
syndrome.
syndrome. Yeah,
Yeah. And thinking that like I'm not good enough to do this.
yeah.
And by not letting myself just be stuck with one track until I finished it, it just kept going. Like my creativity just kept going. And that's been awesome.
Yeah, and also on top of that, you've got that entire sheet. Like you can visually see the improvement. So it's like it's hard to have imposter syndrome when you can look back on the 10 weeks you've just done and you can visually
Hmm.
see what problems you used to have and how you don't have them anymore. It's like you can
Hmm.
literally look at the data we actually like compartmentalized on each week, all that data we've written down of all the problems, and then you compare
Hmm.
it to like the later half of the program. It's like all those things are gone. So it's like
Hmm.
it's very hard to have self-doubt when it's like, I did that in 10 weeks. Imagine what happens in, the next 12 months,
Yeah, exactly.
keep doing what you're doing. Like this is the main thing is that like a lot of times people do the thing, but then they don't stay consistent. So like the next part that's difficult is to stay consistent doing it. But that's what we've got,
Hmm.
the 12 months of group coaching now, like me and
Hmm.
you. So like for me to still be on your ass and being like, yo, are you still writing tracks every week, Because
Hmm.
it's really, I mean, the best course of action now is to decide which method you like better because, the program is to really teach you your own strategies for doing high volume. So
Hmm.
like, because as you may have noticed, you started implementing things and you're like, oh, this works. And now that you've come up with those strategies in order for you to do those exercises, because because it was such a time constraint, you're like trying to come up with ways to be more efficient. And now that you've come up your own way of doing it, it's like, okay, am I going to go this way? Or am I going to go this way? Because
Hmm.
you can keep doing the 5 build ups into drops in a week, or you could just stick to trying to flesh out a full song from start to finish in a week. And
Hmm.
I personally feel like doing 5 build ups into drops in a week is more efficient because out of the 5 that you do, one of them is going to be the best one. And then it's
Hmm.
like, even if that one, you don't want to work on that one today, you've still got a couple of other ideas that might be promising, you know?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
out of that, which method do you reckon you're going to go with?
So I was actually thinking about that today because of the how much I enjoyed this, like making this track,
Hmm.
especially with everything that went on this week.
Yeah.
Um, and the build up and the build up and the first drop were so easy to make. That was the first
Hmm.
thing that I made,
Yeah.
and it came in like an hour. And
Right.
then it was just tweaking and everything,
Right.
um, and doing everything to taste. But I saw that my weakness was the breakdown to the second drop
Yeah.
and the first intro.
Hmm.
And So the build in order to get to the like 5 songs a week or continue this fast pace,
Mm.
um, I think gonna be making I'm gonna try to finish one full track and with three songs from intro to breakdown,
Yeah.
intro to build up, first drop to breakdown,
Yeah.
because I need more practice with that and just continually making that, because another thing that I loved about this was just seeing where my weaknesses were and you
Mm.
being able to point it out and give me advice on how to get away from that. So that's another thing um, that I learned in 10 weeks. I feel like I've grown more in 10 weeks than I have in 10 years of producing.
Hell yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
and one last question as well is, I mean, if anybody's watching this that might be on the fence about checking out the program, what advice do you have for them about your experience?
Do it. Um, I went a full year and a half looking for um, different schools and different like one-on-ones that I was thinking of. This is the first one that caught my attention just by how honest Jackson was, and not pushy and everything, just not trying to take your money. He he really made me feel like this is gonna work for me, and the hour that I had with him, and I believed him, and it did. Like I said, 10 years I've been producing, and in these first 10 weeks, I I feel like I'm a completely different producer. And a lot of my friends that have been with me since day one, they're saying these tracks are the best tracks I've ever produced.
Awesome, man. It really warms my heart to hear that because
Yeah.
it's really important for me to get results. I mean, it's great to help people, but it's also like selfishly, the more results I get for this business, for industry set, more people want to join as well. So it's like, it's my ever incentive to go ham with every person I work with. But yeah, I really
Mm-hmm.
meant it when I said I really, really enjoyed working with you, man. And I look forward to the next 12 months of still catching up because
Yeah.
I feel like we grew like a good friendship through this as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for the just the knowledge that you're putting into your students and into me personally. Like the one-on-one, like I've had one-on-one before,
Hmm.
but I wasn't able to like just talk to him as like a friend like
Yeah.
I am with you, and so I really enjoy it. Anytime it has been stressful sometimes just
Oh
because
yeah, no shit.
uh I'm trying to do 5 and I've never done that, but the
Yeah.
fact that I'm able to do it, and like this one came, and there's going to be weeks where I'm not going to feel confident, like 2 weeks ago, where
Hmm.
I didn't think that the tracks were, and you said that those are some of the best ones that I've made.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just self-doubt and just kind of the process of being an artist and being hard on yourself. But
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Awesome, man.